In this game, I was playing against Wojtaszek from Poland. It was in the Olympiad 2016, and it was the last match, Spain-Poland. So it was a very important game, actually. And of course, there was things related to the team situation that made me play for a win at some moment, because the position was quite unclear, but I was pretty sure that I was not better, and the team was losing, so I thought I had to play for a win. And these external factors actually can make a difference sometimes. And apart from that, of course, the time management of this game was really terrible. I can say I was so tired because we have played lots of games. Olympiad is 11 games, and I have played 10 of them. So, well, it was really tiring tournament for me, and this was the last day. And basically, well, I was just I had a difficult game, of course. Wojtaszek is a very well prepared player, and I decided to play a very solid game. So let's start to see what happened. Played d4, e6. As I play French with black as well, I'm not worried about e4 here, because I'm familiar enough with French. So e6 is just another move order, but it doesn't really change much. It avoids, of course, bishop g5 from Pomsky, but it's not so terrible to allow this also. So e6, c4, played knight f6, knight f3, and now I played b6. Of course, I've played d5 a million times here. It's of course the main move, but the b6 as well is very common. And after g3, which is also the main move, I have played bishop b4 check. This is a very solid line, which actually gave me not so great results, I should say, because I've lost to Levon Aronian in a very strange game, which reached a rook end game, which should be a draw, but I played not so precise, and I've lost. So actually, I don't know why I keep repeating this, but this is another question. I've made a couple of draws with this, of course, but in the end I don't think I've won a game against a strong player here. Anyway, the positions that I'm reaching are good enough, I think, so I didn't really lose because of the opening in this game. So far I have the score sheet here, and so far I was playing really fast. Bishop d2, bishop d2, this is all theory. Queen d2, bishop b7, it has been played by myself and by many other players. Bishop g2, castle, knight c3, knight e4. He was still playing quite fast here. And he goes for queen d3, which is an interesting move. Another move is, of course, to play queen c2. And now, after knight c3, there are tricks that we should keep in mind. For example, this move knight g5 is very critical. White is attacking on g7, attacking on b7, and of course the knight on c3 is still hanging. So it gets to a very complicated, tricky line. And of course after queen c2 there are other possibilities like f5 or d5, and there are... But okay, this is not the subject of the game. This is a theoretical battle. But anyway, we were both prepared, and he went for queen d3. I've played f5, and now he played knight e5. The idea of knight e5 is that he wants to force me to go d5 because I'm pinned, and then his knight on e5 will be in a very good square. But knight c5 is of course very critical, because now I'm attacking the queen, forcing white to take dc5, and then I take bishop g2. This attacks the rook on h1, and he's forced basically to play rook g1. And I played bishop c6 instantly. Here, well, we started the game with 1 hour 30, and here is move 12, and I have 1 hour 33. So basically I'm blitzing out of all the moves. Remember that nowadays most of the games, they're adding you half minute every time you move, and that's why I had more time than when we started the game here. So far everything is is good for me here with black. He played castle, and here it was the first moment that I wasn't absolutely sure about my move, but I thought queen e7 is the move I had in my analysis, so I played it pretty fast, like just a couple of minutes. It's 1:31. And here he thought for a long time and played queen d4, which is a very interesting move. And here it was the first time that I started to think about the game, and I have thought for too much, really. 1:08, so it means that I thought for 23 minutes here, which is, it's a lot actually, because these games are pretty fast, and if you think for one move 23 minutes, then you might get in time trouble, and this is exactly what happened, of course. Well, there is moves, but the first thing we need to understand is that after, for example, b takes c5, he will take on c6, and if we take back with the knight, then d7 is hanging. We have a very bad position here. And if we take back with the pawn, then our structure is just horrible. So, and we will be just worse here. So bc5 is wrong. Another move was something like rook e8, but this allows g4, and now if he manages to open the g file, g7 will be weak, and the queen on d4 is working very well. So this gets tricky also. And after bc5, knight c6, cd4, knight d7, rook e7, rook d4. This might be slightly better for white as well. So after bishop c6, well, okay, so I played knight a6, which I think is the best move actually in this position. And now, of course, well, I'm simply attacking the pawn on c5. That's why my opponent just blitz out cb, ab. Now, if he takes on c6, this shouldn't be a problem for black. It's a very solid position. And dc6, queen d7, just change queens and something to protect the c7 pawn, with the idea to bring the knight to c5, and everything looks pretty solid here. It's not such a big problem. So he went for g4, which is one of the ideas. At least his rook was strange that he had to move it to g1, but on the other hand, now it's ready to attack a little bit. So g4 is a very good move. I have calculated this position, of course, during my 23 minutes of thought. So here, AB, I played it fast. Knight c5, I thought for too much. Also, it's disappointing to see it now, because I thought for 6 minutes, and it's such an obvious move. Knight c5. It's really obvious. I mean, it's not much to do instead of that. I mean, f4 just looks strange. And knight c5, I've been calculating it a lot, so there was no need to recalculate everything again and spend 6 minutes. Maybe one minute for this was enough, because I've thought about it a lot before. So he went gf5, which is a critical move, and here I have few options, and the problem is I started to get worried about some lines, but in the end, well, for example, ef5 I didn't like, because knight d5 take, queen d5, and now it gets very tricky, this position, because after king h8 I was worried about rook g3, and his threat of playing knight g6 check followed by rook h3 is killing me. So I need to play knight e6, but everything is very, very, very dangerous actually, because d7 is hanging, these mates are there, there is the possibility of this knight g6, and it's just unpleasant. So ef5 I didn't like it. All the computer seems to say that it's holding more or less, so it's around equal, but I didn't really like it so much. What else? Rook f5 was also possible, but again rook g3, and it looks quite dangerous, this position, but I think after queen f6 it should be enough to equalize approximately. So rook f5 was maybe safer, but I had the idea of playing rook a2, which is why I played also knight a6 and everything. All this was to play rook a2. And the idea of this is, of course, that now knight b3 is coming with check and double attack to the king and queen. And the trick is also that after king b1, which looks like the logical move, there is rook a1 check, and if you take it again, knight b3 is winning. So he played basically the only move here, which is king c2. And well, now I have to hurry with black, because if this rook starts to just maybe to double, for example, on g3, rook g3, rook g1, and the attack on g7 is just very unpleasant. And of course now my rook on a2 is hanging, so I don't really have much time for games here. I need to go to the critical lines, and the most critical is to give check, of course. This forces white to take on a4, and here it's move 18. Let's see how much time I have. Well, rook a2 I thought a lot, because I wasn't sure what to do here. And when we reached this position, actually I played fast already. But yeah, rook a2 I thought a lot, because in this position the problem is that I missed a very important detail. After rook a4, white's more normal move will be to take on d7, then we will change things on d7. But the problem is if you change immediately and rook f7, now you are losing, because f e6 you take, and then when you take on c4, king d3, and you resign. But the difference is when queen d7 comes, you take first on c4. Now you cannot go to b3 because there is check on b4. And if you go to b1, then you force this line with taking on d7, rook f7, f e6, take, and now rook d4. And we'll take back this pawn on d7. And then it's an equal position. And I have missed this detail. And then because of this, I just went really crazy, and I didn't actually find the best move. So that's why I didn't play rook a4 here, and I went knight a4, which is probably a bad move, simply a bad move. And now, well, okay, I'm threatening to take on b2, so rook b1 doesn't look so nice because it looks a little bit passive. But knight d3 is actually much more interesting, because now my pieces are stacked on a2 and a4, and he's threatening to play sometimes king b3, sometimes king b1, and I have to be careful not to lose my pieces there. I've played here c5. Not sure it's the best move, but probably from the practical point of view, it's interesting, because the refutation of these moves, we both missed it completely, and the computer finds some incredible solutions here. For example, let's say queen e5 he suggests, and after rook f5 some really weird move, queen c7. And this is just winning for white, but for a human being it's very hard to find. This queen c7 is just winning, because now king b3 is coming, or rook a1 is coming, and there is no way to stop black from losing some piece here. So the rook on a2 and the knight on a4 are trapped, and there is no way to escape. But it's very hard to find such a move and to understand that the queen on c7 is important. Because, for example, now a move like queen g3, that's not so strong, because there is this move d5, and suddenly the position gets crazy. That's why queen c7 is so good, because now my queen is pinned, and well, the pawn, I cannot move the d pawn. I cannot create d5 idea. Anyway, queen e5 was super hard, and we both missed it. He played f6. I took rook f6. Well, it's basically the only move. I cannot change queens, of course, because now my pieces are stacked here and I'm just losing. So I played rook f6. Now he played queen e4. Maybe queen h4 was better, but still it's quite an unclear position. Anyway, queen e4, and now I've played a very good move, b5. This is a beautiful move, but on the other hand, it's a little bit forced, because, well, now these ideas with rook a1 and king b3 or king b1, all this is very dangerous for black. He needs to be careful, of course, sometimes, because, for example, some rook b3 right now could run into rook b2, and then there is a check on c3 winning. But there is lots of possibilities for white to create problems. But b5 is a very nice move, because now you want to activate your pieces, and it's not so easy for white to take advantage of this stacked rook and knight. And also it gives the square for my knight to escape at some point, maybe. For example, if he takes c takes b5, then d5, for example, is a good move. And then you win another tempo, and you will play c4, and now the queen will activate, and these pieces are still very active. And after c4, he might have trouble with his knight on d3, which is protecting b2, so everything is connected, of course. Queen b7 was a very interesting idea, but with the same idea like before, to pin the d pawn, which is very important. But after bc4, to play king b1, and this reaches to some crazy positions, actually. There is a move here, very interesting, rook a3, or even rook b2 is very interesting, after knight b2, to give check on c3. And there are some chances for black to save the game, but it's still very sharp position, still very sharp. But queen b7, we both missed this idea to pin the d pawn to play king b1 next move. So he went for the most normal, which is king b3, attacking the rook, and not allowing rook b2 now. With the king on b1, remember that there was this trick with rook b2, and actually black is winning here. So king b3 and now d5. This was the whole point of everything, actually. When I played c5, I've seen that this kind of possibilities are interesting. And now, of course, I'm threatening to take the queen right now, and if he takes c takes d5, then I have this beautiful move queen a7, and the threat of c4 is just destroying white's position. So basically black is winning because he cannot take on a2 because knight c3 just wins the queen. So cd5 is wrong, and he played the only move queen e5. Then I have played rook f5. I think it's a correct move, because if I take immediately, he'll take the rook, I take on d3, simply rook d3, and this rook is ready to come to a3 and protect his king, and also even to come to g3 and put very strong pressure on g7. But rook f5 is actually a very smart move. It's move 24, and on rook f5 I have 13 minutes. So we can see how I played till queen e7, it's move 13, so right now I have played 11 moves, and I've spent all my time, more than 1 hour. Definitely wrong, definitely wrong. It's when you sometimes the problem is that you think that the decision you are making in the moment is so important that you need to use as much time as you want. But this is often mistaken, because then this decision will not finish the game. The game will continue. You'll reach move 25, and then you'll have to play with few minutes, and then the mistakes are coming. Yeah. After rook f5, he plays queen b8 check. I have to just play rook f8. Okay, I need to do something always. I need to play fast because my rook is hanging, so I cannot really play different moves. So rook f8 is attacking the queen, and he started to repeat moves. So I repeated a couple of times. Reached move 28, and I had just few minutes on the clock. Right now, move 28, I have 5 minutes on the clock, and I saw how my teammates are doing, and we were basically losing the match. Probably we were just the normal result will be 2-1 right now. So I thought with a draw, it will be a bad result for us, and I went for some move which probably in a different situation I wouldn't have played. I would just have repeated moves. And actually, the funny thing is that this was the second time in the tournament that I suicided myself trying to save the team. But actually, it didn't help because both times that I tried, I lost. So maybe for next time, I'll just take the draw and what to do. Maybe it's, I mean, anyway, for the team, it's better to make the draw than to lose. But, well, I thought that let's try to be a hero for this time. And I played Queen A7 with 5 minutes on the clock. And, well, here it's a very, very complicated position. After Queen E6 check, I can just go King H8 and nothing special happened. So in the end, he basically needs to take my rook. Other moves are just bad because I'm just having very strong ideas with taking on C4. So he needs to take the rook at least to justify. I go Knight C3 check. King B3 is the only move. There is no other legal move. And now I go rook, Knight D1. And I thought here that I had at least a playable position, although I was pretty sure that I'm not better at all. But I thought at least I could play a little bit, trying to finish this game in a better style than just making draw and trying to save the team. And here, actually, he played a move that came completely unexpected to me, Knight C5. This was a total shock for me. And actually taking on E6 with the knight, G7 will be hanging, and he's stopping also Queen A4. And this came as a shock, and I had very short time on my clock, and I couldn't react properly. I have very, very few seconds on my clock. I had 4 or 5 minutes, 4 minutes maybe, and I made a big mistake here, and it's the last mistake, and it's, I mean, there is no comeback in such a sharp positions. If you make one mistake, it's probably the last one. And I didn't realize actually that it's so important not to take on C4. I took D takes C4, which is losing the game. But the problem of this move is that it forces his king to escape, and now I will be lost with my weak positions. With my weak position, yeah. But if I would have played something like Rook F7, he couldn't take on E6 anymore with the knight because now there is Queen A4 mate. And after Rook F7, for example, I will be trying to play Queen C5. So the position remains extremely unclear here, extremely unclear. And even here I had a move like Knight F2, which was as well possible, because again, if Knight E6, there is Queen A4 winning. So I didn't really think about this Queen A4 all the time, although here I'm threatening Queen A4 mate. So here, just after Knight C5, I just panicked. I thought like, oh my god, why did I reject the draw? First of all, I was regretting myself not to take a draw. And also I panicked because I had like 4 minutes on the clock. If you have half an hour on the clock, you have time to panic a little bit, but then you'll come back to the normal state and you'll just try to find the best move. Anyway, I played Rook DC4 check, he played King C2, and basically I'm lost. And there is no escape, basically. So, well, Knight E6 was played. The problem now is that the checks on A4 are not really so dangerous because he can escape to B1 and there will be no more checks. And the problem is that the pressure on G7 is so strong with all his pieces now. Basically, one move and it's over, but it's so easy to make a mistake if you are under pressure. I've played here Rook F7. I didn't want to resign so quickly, but of course I realized already that I'm completely lost, and he found the strongest idea to play Knight G7. Main idea is that after Rook G7 he goes Queen E8 mate, so I cannot make this, and I have played just Knight G4 trying to find some little trick. The idea is after Rook G4 I can go Queen A4 check, and now there is no King B1 because Rook F1 is mate. So he has to go King C3 and the position remains sharp. After B4 it just gets a little bit crazy. But of course he doesn't need to allow Queen A4 check. He can just come back with Knight E6. Now I'm pinned. And the problem is that I cannot take on g1 because queen b8 is mate. Rook f8, and then he just takes. So the problem is that I'm just lost. I played h5, but queen g5 check, king h7, queen h5, and I resigned. So, well, we see that time management is so important, and well, in this game I just thought too much. I had a very good preparation, very good opening preparation, which is the first step to avoid time trouble. But after that, I just thought for too long, and I was maybe a bit slow in calculating, and I also missed little tricks, and all this added one mistake to the other. And in the end, when I had to draw, I had to play on because of my team. So many different things happened, and in the end, well, I've lost a game that probably I shouldn't have lost, but it's happening like this. Yeah, thanks for watching.